there, good afternoon and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We're also in digital terrestrial TV because we are free to air. You can catch us on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144. This is Joy News, independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, Speaker of Parliament backs school feeding caterers' demand for an increase of school feeding grants from 97 pesos to 3 Ghana cedis per school child. Details as the Speaker pays a surprise visit and leads on the chat to the Buffer Stock Secretariat and also the National School Feeding Secretariat. Will bring you all of the details shortly, as their activities of cartels are also impacting the rising cost of food in the country. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. Meanwhile, commercial drivers are also lacing their boots to hit the streets in the coming days owing to the failure of government to remove taxes on petroleum products. And blazing the trail this afternoon as well on The Pulse, we'll put a spotlight on Ghana's first professional golfer, Danny List. I'm Blessed Sogah. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable safe sanitation. This afternoon as well, don't forget that we're streaming on all of our social media handles at JoyNews on TV, also on YouTube. Feel free to join us with the hashtag The Pulse. I am Blessed Sogah. Always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. Well, so this afternoon, the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, says the demand by school feeding caterers for an increase in school feeding grants is justified. The caterers want an upward review of grants used to prepare meals for school children from the current 97 pesos to 3 Ghana cedis per school child. Now, according to the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, who paid a surprise visit to the School Feeding Secretariat, 97 pesos to feed a school child is woefully inadequate. We'll cross over shortly to our parliamentary correspondent, Kwekwa Santi, but first, let's bring you a report filed by Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam, which paints the picture of the plight of the school feeding caterers.
It's been 5 weeks since public primary schools in the country reopened for the second term. Primary schools in the Upper West region were therefore not left out. The pupils and their teachers came to the school in droves, ready and poised for the resumption of teaching and learning at their various schools. One key thing which could make them fulfill that wish was out of a conspicuously missing. The caterers contracted by the government under the school feeding program were nowhere to be found. They had just boycotted cooking services for what they described as inadequate feeding grant. They vowed not to cook until the government increased the current feeding grant from 0.97 Ghana cedis to 3 Ghana cedis per child. The pupils who are supposed to benefit from the program suffer and wallow in hunger. Private food vendors move in and in some of the schools made the most of the situation. After several weeks of tango with the government, where they were promised of addressing their concerns, some of the caterers have resumed cooking services at the schools. One of such schools is one municipal model primary school.
At the beginning of the term, when we visited the school, it was deserted and almost looked like a ghost town because the caterers and cooks were nowhere to be found. Today, we are back at the school to see how things are panning out. Now let me enter the kitchen and see whether we can meet some of the caterers around. Madam, thank you very much for your time and good morning.
You are welcome. Good morning.
Are you a caterer here?
Yes.
Okay, I'm seeing that today, a lot of cooking going on here.
Yes.
So what exactly are you doing?
We are cooking rice and stew.
Rice and stew?
Rice and stew.
Why rice and stew today?
Because we didn't have money to buy beans, that's why.
Okay.
The government didn't pay us. We didn't have money.
Okay, but at the beginning of the term, you didn't start?
Yes.
Why were you not here?
Because we didn't have money.
But now today you have money?
No, we didn't have. The government asked us that we should come and prepare the food before he pays us. That's why.
There are over 1,000 pupils here in this 106-year-old primary school, and as a result, the pupils have been divided among 4 caterers. Per the menu of the school feeding program, they were supposed to cook gari and beans for the pupils today, but has to change the menu because they have not been able to lay hands on them.
We are asked by our caterers not to come to work until they were paid. Few days ago, they heard others were cooking, so we were frightened to lose our jobs, and we quickly came to resume cooking. What we have in the house is what we bring to cook. Because we are not paid. We are struggling now. We give them what is available. The people should bear with us.
They are appealing to the government to not only pay the monies owed them, but increase the feeding grant paid per child.
Why is it too small? 97 pesos? Is it not good?
No, it's too small. The food is costly. That's why we are begging the government to pay us the 3 cedis.
The pupils are, however, happy with the resumption of cooking services at the school. Mohammed Bakir to Sumbayire is a primary 6 pupil.
Tell me the excitement in you when the food is brought.
We were happy. We were just saying hooray that our cooks are here again. We are always hungry. So when we are hungry, we cannot concentrate in the class again. We are always thinking about the food in the house.
Another school visited was at Ndamba Primary School. At the time of our visit, the cooks have finished cooking for the over 301 pupils and were carrying the food to one of the classrooms converted into a kitchen. Neither the cooks nor the head teachers spoke to us for fear of victimization.
The good news from our visit to a dozen of schools in the Wa municipality revealed that all the caterers have reviewed services to the schools. Their challenge, however, is that they are in a limbo as what to cook for the pupils. For now, it is what they have or what they can afford. It's what they cook for the pupils. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam.
Well, so that's a situation as painted by Rafik Salam. We'll be crossing over shortly to Parliament to get you the very latest on what the concerns of the Speaker of Parliament is. Kwaku Asante has been monitoring the development. In fact, the Speaker, as we understand, has also been engaging the buffer stock company on reasons why we're experiencing this food shortage. We'll be getting you all of the details shortly. Plus trying as much as possible to understand what it is that Parliament will be doing in the coming days to get some results, as we understand that some engagements have commenced between the Speaker and the relevant committees to try and get some response. But obviously, there's a need for us to, first of all, take you to Parliament to hear from Kwaku Asante, who is our parliamentary correspondent. But even as this is happening within the country as well, we know that farmers worldwide are also feeling the brunt of the sanctions as the Ukraine war sent fertilizer prices soaring and also prompting concerns over a global food shortage. The Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development is intensifying its call for the use of organic fertilizers to promote agroecological farming. Now, the center, together with its partners, held a stakeholder engagement in Techiman to discuss strategies that will help small-scale farmers to adapt to climate change and also improve nutrition production and consumption of some nutrient-rich, diverse foods as well. And that summit has been following up on that in our reports.
The World Food Programme estimates that cereal production during the 2022 cropping year could potentially decrease by 16% year on year. This is largely because fertilizer prices have reached all-time high both in the global and domestic markets, casting a serious shadow on the 2022 cereal harvests and food security. Here in Ghana, there is a growing interest from farmers to convert some or all of their acreage to organic production, a move that has been championed by the Center for Indigenous Knowledge and Organizational Development over the past decade. In view of this, CICOD, together with its partners, held a workshop in Techiman to derive a strategy for climate change adaptation and mitigation to support smallholder farmers. Wilberforce Latte is a Deputy Executive Director at CICOD.
We've been talking about agroecology and the use of organic materials and all that. But it's been very difficult, especially from the policy makers. But thankfully, the war between Russia and Ukraine created the opportunity for even the deputy ministers to say that they want to wean off farmers from chemical fertilizers. So for me, the opportunity has been created.
He noted that the meeting is to, amongst other things, establish partnerships between CSOs and the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to ensure that there is a clear roadmap for the farmer group.
The idea is for us to dialogue, what challenges do we face, what opportunities are there. If government should ban fertilizers today, chemical fertilizers, it will be difficult for farmers to produce. So we believe that we need to transition, but we need to have clear roadmap, clear strategy for transitioning. And we believe that as we work together, we'll be able to address the needs of farmers in promoting agroecology.
One of the proposals made by the participants includes the need to establish a community-based organic compost production post to help in its accessibility. Olawumi Benedict is an organic farmer and a trainer at GPS.
What we can do is to have community-based production sites. These materials are already at the community level, and so if we have community production sites, the farmers are not thinking of I need to build structure, I need to build shelter, I need to get this drum, I need to get this inputs. But at the community level, they already have all the things they need. They bring in their raw materials to do the compost, and then they are supported by other farmers. So I bring my own today, everybody comes to help me. That way, they're able to produce a lot.
Some of the municipal and district directors of agriculture present at the workshop lauded the meeting and advised that more of such engagements need to be held occasionally to help avert the issues of climate change and its negative effects.
It's very important because the NGOs normally that collaboration is not there. They are doing their thing differently and they come out with issues. Sometimes it's not true, but sometimes they try to push it and propagate it. So when the two of us meet and we try to dialogue, it irons out those things and then it clears air for us to work together.
This workshop, I will rate it as excellent, and I want to thank the organizers of this workshop that it is even in government policy that there should be public-private partnership. And what we are seeing today is one of the partnerships government has proposed that we should be doing.
Anna Sabit, JoyNews, Techiman.
Well, so let's broaden the conversation. Joining me now via Zoom is Dr. Charles Nyaba. He is Head of Programs and Advocacy at the Peasant Farmers Association. Thank you for your time, Doc. So here we are. In fact, we understand there are even more concerns emerging from Parliament and also the Buffer Stock Company about some artificial food shortage we are experiencing. First of all, what's your take on these trends that we're witnessing in the last few days? Is this something that's likely to continue for a very long time?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir.
Yeah. So thank you very much. I think it is disappointing to always hear a statement like this, especially coming from a National Food Buffer Stock Company. I say this because I would like us to look at the mandate of National Food Buffer Stock Company. They felt the number one objective of National Food Buffer Stock Company is to stabilize food grain supply and prices, to create employment, to ensure emergency food reserves, to ensure macroeconomic stability. So today, if National Food Buffer Stock Company fail to deliver its mandate of ensuring that we have stability in food prices, but rather try to create impression as if the farmers who are creating artificial shortage. I think that's disappointing. It is a failure on their part to deliver the purpose for which they were formed. So it should have been a different unit that is making this statement, not National Food Buffer Stock Company. That is first. Secondly, there is no crime if a farmer decides after harvest to sell some and keep some to be sold and then use that for production. There's nothing wrong with that at all. The farmer is in business. So if during the bumper harvest period, the farmer sees that I don't need to sell everything, but I need to store some and then sell some during the lean season, I think it's unacceptable for anybody to say that they are creating artificial shortage. Now, let me indicate that why is it that some few years back, this artificial shortage was not created? Once we have more food supply in the system, there's no way all that food will be stored and there will be shortages during the lean season. No, we agree that every year is a seasonal thing. That when it's getting to May, June, July, there's always food shortages. But it is not to the extent of what we are experiencing today. What we are experiencing today cannot be linked to anybody trying to create artificial food shortage, but it's linked to inadequate supply compared to demand. So that's the angle at which I would like to position it.
And of course, looking at the situation in which we find ourselves now, we're consistently witnessing that sharp rise in prices, and many are attributing it to varied conditions. Some say it's more of the external factors. Some say it's more of the internal factors. Here's the buffer stock company, which is attributing that to middlemen. But the concern about middlemen is something that many on the streets do not really understand. How does that work within the agro industry?
Yeah, so to me, I think most of the factors has to do with the way we handle the sector. For middlemen have been there all these years. Not only this year that middlemen are now going to buy food stock and stock. We always have middlemen. What happened? What are the things that we didn't get right? I will put this in two key factors. One is external factors and the second one is domestic factors. External factors has to do with the impact of COVID-19 that impacted on access to input in 2021. If you remember, when we were about starting the season in 2021, peasant farmers came out clearly that if certain measures were not put in place, the way input prices were going high, the way it was difficult for people to bring in mechanization facilities such as tractors and other harvesters, and the fact that government failed to deliver subsidized fertilizer in 2021, the quantities that was required, it was likely to affect food availability in 2022. And that is what is happening. The other factor also has to do with the fact that there are external pressures, which is associated with the increase in fuel prices, depreciation of our currency, war in Ukraine, which is also impacting on fertilizer prices. So if a farmer who would have used 1,500 Ghana cedis to produce 1 acre of a maize farm now have to use 3,500 to 3,700 to produce the same acre of maize farm this year, the farmer would want to remain in business by setting the cost to the cost of production. So what is happening now, I think it is always unfair for us to create impression that see the increase in price, farmers are just imposing it without looking at the farmer cost of production. Last year, how much were we buying fertilizer? We were buying open market fertilizer around 130 Ghana cedis. This year, the same thing is going for 350 to 400 Ghana cedis. How much were we spending on tractor services? It was around 150. This year, it's going for 250 because of increase in fuel prices. How much were we buying weedicides? Let's say condemned. They were buying it around 20 Ghana cedis. This year is going for 55 Ghana cedis. So if you're a farmer who now have to more than quadruple your cost of production, that farmer who has the produce to sell will also expect to put the cost so that the person will remain in business. So we should have probably been talking about these factors rather than creating the impression that if somebody is artificially influencing the prices. I do not want to associate myself with that position of the National Food Buffer Stock Company.
So really, are we experiencing a shortage, or you're disputing that fact?
Yeah, I think the shortage is clear for everybody to see. maybe after this interview, you may want to call some few consumers or you call the various food markets to find out what is the availability. You see, the recent maize that the Ministry of Food and Agriculture went to the field and saw is not bumper, or it wasn't. You see, in every year when the farmers harvest, they usually do not sell their produce and keep the money in the bank. They keep the produce. When it will rain and they are about to start with the new season, what they stock, they now bring it out to the market to sell so that they can use that to produce. So currently you go to the Techima market, you are seeing that we have some maize in the market. You go to Ejura, you are seeing we are having maize. Tumu, you are seeing we are having maize. And the impression is created as saying, oh, okay, we have enough. No, it is not the case. This is just a temporal development, and within 1 week to 2, all these maize will be cleared. So if you are not taking time, when we enter July, August, there is going to be serious shortage. And I bet you it is the reason why we start importing maize from Argentina. When has Ghana imported maize from Argentina? Today we are importing maize from Argentina for poultry farmers. You know, so to me, there is shortage.
Ghana is importing maize from all the way from Argentina.
Of course, there is maize in the market from Argentina for poultry. You know, which we do not support that, because we are thinking that government is spending a lot of money in supporting farmers on the replanting for food jobs. So if today we have to depend on other countries for crops like maize and rice, I don't think it's something that we need to go. We import a lot of rice, and now we are adding maize. Most of our vegetables, we are importing them from the neighboring countries, you know, so which is unacceptable. So I think we need to look at the mandate of Ghana Buffer Food Stock Company very well. And then if you think that they are not able to deliver on their mandate, but they only want to do PR work, we all need to, to advise on the way to go.
So what immediate changes would you want to see?
You see, as it stands now, many farmers are actually changing their planting patterns. Most farmers are actually shifting from production of crops that are heavy feeders of fertilizer, like maize and rice, because fertilizer cost is very high. Now, the fertilizer companies will confirm that they are not able to sell, and they are compelled to even reduce the price of their fertilizers. Costs of agrochemicals are very high. Now, government had just launched the development bank. What I was expecting to see immediately is to see how we make it possible for farmers to be able to reduce their cost of production. Once they produce their cost of production, they'll be able to also expand their farm sizes, those crops that are considered as heavy feeders, which are also relevant to our staple food sector, like maize and rice. They'll go into increase their production. They'll go into apply the appropriate quantity of input that is required. And if that happens, we will have some level of assurance that next year we will not be here complaining the same time.
Anyway, Doc, we'll have to leave it here, but thank you so much for spending some time with us here on The Pulse. Now, fufu, as we know it, a local staple, is enjoyed by many households in Ghana, but the recent cost of ingredients is actually forcing lovers to pay more for the local delicacy. There's more in the following report.
First, na me ba, evan se bibia bisi be 20,000 me yuki. Ba ele appetite ni nim kura 30 kura ni enjoy papa.
About here ba pay 200 cedis.
I used to sell cow knee at 10 cedis, but now sell between 18 and 25 cedis.
Aponchechi, literally translated goat skin, is a popular local food joint at Ejiso, noted for its delicious fufu and goat soup. It's 10 a.m. and already the place is buzzing with fufu lovers. Kwame is a regular visitor to Aponchechi for his favorite dish, fufu and light soup. He used to buy the popular meal at a minimum of 20 Ghana cedis, but now he has to double the amount to be satisfied.
This year, come me appetite kakra. Elikura am me kura betima fam be 150 and sana abetene aduane no.
I would normally take shots of alcohol as a starter, but I can't anymore. I now buy fufu close to 30 Ghana cedis.
First na me ba e ban se bibia be si be 20,000 me yuki. Ba ele appetite ni nim kura 30 kura ntimi enjoy papa.
Now normal normal.
Owner of the food joints, Ma Ivy, says the minimum amount to pay for a fairly decent fufu with meat is 10 Ghana cedis.
So we bank us for fufu 10 cedis. What my talk for 4 cedis. And I'm 6 cedis. Upon here 4 cedis.
For 10 cedis, you will get fufu 4 cedis and meat 6 cedis. If you want to be satisfied, you have to buy more.
Normal 6 cedis. 6 cedis. Normal. So yeah, normal is
Fufu and soup is a popular food for many Ghanaians, but its preparation now comes with a huge cost due to rising costs of cassava, plantain, vegetables, meat and other ingredients. Prices have also doubled in the last few months. Atamame has been selling cassava and plantain for almost 2 decades. She says she has to sacrifice some tubers of cassava to caution her customers.
5 cedis in any year. Obi ba na matono so. 5 cedis.
I sell cassava at 5 Ghana cedis. I sometimes add more to cushion my customers.
Okay, well from by board here ba pay 200 cedis. It drove by say 200 cedis.
The plantains are more expensive than cassava. For meat and fish lovers, 50 Ghana cedis will be the least amount to purchase the variety of animal protein for a saucepan of soup. Francis, a butcher, says a pound of cow and goat meat are now pegged at 22 Ghana cedis and 24 Ghana cedis respectively.
And I punch so 1.25. But first now 18 there.
A pound of meat used to sell at 18 cedis, but now it's 22 Ghana cedis. And that is not attracting people to buy. You can spend about 80 Ghana cedis on just meat.
20 so without
That is just the cost for red meat lovers. You will have to meet additional costs to enjoy some smoked and frozen fish.
Fish, you have red fish. And salmon. Salmon say,
Previously, you could get larger salmon at 10 Ghana cedis. But now, the smallest is what you get.
15 and 12 cedis.
Say woman no kwasem ekwaso ne boa yede should say kotoje no kane no ne to be 10 cedi.
I used to sell cow knee at 10 cedis, but now sell between 18 and 25 cedis.
20 cedi and ketwa pa na 18 cedi. 18 na just say this also man ekwaso and I'm not better fair.
The price of perishable food items like pepper, tomato and onions have also doubled.
First, they turning be at 3 million. They turning 3 million.
I used to buy a basket of onion at 300 Ghana cedis, but it's now 550 Ghana cedis.
Ne boy den pa, the man better no moka.
Here Tobo no 70 cedis. And I acquired on 1.4.
A bowl of pepper used to sell at 70 Ghana cedis, but just yesterday I bought it at 140 Ghana cedis.
Elizabeth normally fed her family of 6 with 50 Ghana cedis, but now she needs more than 90 Ghana cedis to buy foodstuff to prepare fufu and soup.
Me baba no family to me the 50 cedis bedroom. As over manager so never no bo akosoro. First we to me tonya meko 50%. Say out of meko I just say 1 cedi.
I used to prepare fufu with only 50 Ghana cedis, but now I have to spend close to 90 Ghana cedis.
They say I'm in Kuta 8 and I say 9. It's me Nijano. Emma Obia in Yedian in Jimmy. We are making a number Nanopano so crowd management and so.
Perhaps you may need more to keep enjoying your favorite fufu as prices of goods soar. For living standards, Emmanuel Brights Kweku.
Well, lots is happening elsewhere. Let's cross you over now to Berlin, where there's shortage of grain as well. DW's Thomas Sparrow joins us with more on this. Thomas, first of all, how big is the grain crisis where you are?
It is a clear example of how the war in Ukraine, Russia's war in Ukraine, has global consequences, not only in Russia or Ukraine's immediate neighborhood, but also further away. There are millions of tons of grains, of Ukrainian grains, stuck simply because they cannot be transported by sea. And that is affecting countries as far away as Lebanon or Libya. It's also affecting countries in sub-Saharan Africa, something that, by the way, Ukrainian President Zelensky clearly stated when he addressed not long ago the African Union. And as such, it is also becoming an international challenge for leaders, not only here in Europe, but internationally, to try and deal with this challenge. It is particularly worrying for poorer countries around the world, for developing countries around the world. It is affecting prices in many parts of the globe, and as such it is something that leaders expect to at least partially resolve, or at least find ways of resolving, when some of them meet here in Germany, not only for this international conference on Friday, but also for the G7 that will also take place here in Germany as of Saturday and until next Tuesday.
I'm just wondering about the EU countries. What have they done so far about the situation?
Essentially, if you look at what Europe has been doing, they've been trying to find alternative routes to get those grains out of Ukraine. It is also important to stress that there is another harvest coming very soon, so this makes it a challenge that is very urgent indeed. And as part of those alternative routes, they have tried to find ways in which Ukraine's grain can be transported by land. But this presents big challenges, which include, for example, different rail systems, which also includes how to go through different countries. So there are now negotiations also in place, complex negotiations, as Ukraine's President Zelensky stated, to try and find safe corridors with which those grains could be transported. But as of now, until the war actually started, most of Ukraine's grains were transported by sea, not by land. So transporting them by land now is indeed a very serious challenge.
And we do know that there's going to be a conference on Friday. What would the discussions be focused on?
In particular, what's going to be discussed is how to guarantee supplies, how to find alternative supplies, but also alternative routes to make sure that Ukraine can continue, or at least can export its grains. Also looking towards that new harvest. It is important from Germany's perspective to try and understand this as an international issue, from an international perspective, considering also that Germany is hosting the G7 only immediately after that international conference. The international conference is expected to have very high-ranking politicians, including US Secretary of State Antony Blinken, and as such, it is important to try and find those ways in which Ukraine could also export its grains. And it's important to mention that there are different opinions, different understandings as to why this is the case. Ukraine is blaming Russia on this, but Russia has obviously blamed Ukraine and blamed the West for the current problem. It is a current problem that is affecting countries around the world.
Thomas, thank you. Now, let's bring you back in country, where commercial drivers are expressing worry over what they term as the skyrocketing cost of operations. Now, according to the aggrieved group, the situation would have been a lot more different if measures were taken by government to actually cushion commercial transport workers in the wake of escalating prices of fuel in Ghana. This, they say, is easily making the country the highest cost of fuel producers in the sub-region. I'm Michael Ashale was at that news conference and interacted with some of the transport unions.
3 unions, and I'll give you them: Commercial Transport Operators, the Concerned National Spare Parts Dealers Association, and the National Okada Riders Association, have all come together and have served notice to government that they intend to embark on a massive campaign to get government to do a few things that will help their business. Tell me that their business are ailing and are on the verge of dying. I have Yusuf, he's with the Concerned Transport Drivers. Yusuf, so I mean, in a nutshell, what are some of the issues that you're raising?
I think first we raise the issue about the fuel price, secondly our road network, and thirdly how spare parts are getting expensive. Every single day the prices keep skyrocketing. That are the issues we've raised. When you look at the fuel price, when you look just our neighboring country, Nigeria here, they are selling it at 20 cedi per gallon. And Ghana, we are selling it 60 cedi. And if you look at Togo, Cote d'Ivoire and Burkina Faso, they are even selling theirs lesser, far lesser than what we are buying here in Ghana. So definitely it's something that is killing our business.
I'll come back to ask the impact on the general business that you do. I have Techado, you are with the spare parts dealers,
National
right?
Concerned Spare Parts Dealers, the PRO.
Great. Why are you this afternoon saying that you want to embark on a demonstration?
First of all, let me say good afternoon to your viewers. Our issue is very simple. We joined this coalition because I'm a Ghanaian and I need to fight for what is right. I need to defend my country, and at the same time I need to defend the business we are doing. Now we look at the exchange, for instance. Now the dollar is 8 cedis and above, which is more problematic. It's kind of where the cedi is running. Now look at the fuel prices too. Now from the port to Abosokai or your destination, definitely need to pick a car, hire car. Previously you used to charge 800, 1,002. Now some are even charging 1,008, 2,000. You see the margin? So technically it's going to affect our business. That's the reason why we say no, we need to come together as a Ghanaians to form coalition, to go and partner, Arise Ghana, to call all our members, our family, our friends, everybody to come on board to demonstrate against this administration. The government will lose this fight if you go about Russia-Ukraine invasion, because look at our neighboring countries. How much is their fuel? Are they not part of this world? Why are they not part of us? Look at their fuel. Yours is 61 Ghana cedis. How much is Cote d'Ivoire?
What of COVID-19 as a reason?
For them, that COVID does not affect them. Ghana, the whole South Africa, Ghana, we make a lot of money out of COVID. Look at the money we spend. IMF give us 1 billion Ghana cedis. Look at World Bank, European Union. Look at the money we took from the stabilization fund. Up to today, minister refused to account for the funds. Up to today,
he was in Parliament yesterday.
He didn't do anything. He just mentioned figures.
Okay. I'll come back to you. Let me speak to the Okada riders. Why is a demonstration on fuel and spare parts more important to you than getting the business, the Okada business, legalized in Ghana?
Because we need to survive. It's a fight for survival. So we need to survive to fight the future war. Okada regularization is a future war. Remember, there was something called CODA that government brought to replace Okada. Nobody is talking about it. We are coming shortly to talk about that. We'll organize a press conference for that. But today, we can't even survive. It isn't like we are joking. We can't survive. We can't buy common kenke and eat. We can't take care of our kids. It's a shame. We can't go home. These days I go home in the night, because when you go daytime and the children are around you saying daddy, daddy, you feel embarrassed. You have nothing to give them and you have no explanation. We cannot tell our children that there is something called Ukraine-Russia war. We cannot tell our children that there is something called COVID in this country. We need to put food on the table. We can't buy fuel. We can't buy spare parts. The roads are not good. And the leaders are giving us excuses. They should, you see, I have some little reference I make. When I pick you on my bike, I don't complain that your buttocks will feel pain because the road is not good. There is something on my motorbike called absorbers. So it receives the shocks that you are supposed to receive. That is what we call leadership. If we have leaders in this country, they should be in the position of absorbers. They should receive the pain on our behalf. But they are enjoying. They are living luxurious life, and fuel price is increasing, skyrocketing. Almost every 2 days or 3 days, an item in the market, the cost of it will increase.
But you can afford it, can't you?
If the police will allow us to work, if the roads are good, if the passengers are not complaining and they are paying us properly, yes, I can afford. But the passengers are fighting us every day. Every day we fight on the physical blows, because a passenger you picked last 2 weeks and he paid you 15 cedis to a particular place. This week, the same passenger pick you to the same place, pay you 2 weeks, and you are fighting him because the cost of fuel last 2 weeks is not the same as today.
Come on, let me come back to Techi. So let me ask him. They cannot afford it. How is that bad for your business that you do? I mean, you thrive on, they come in, essentially the drivers and the Okada riders come in to buy spare parts from you. How is the business faring? I mean, how much were you selling some years ago? How are you selling it now?
You see, sometimes it's good. You see, it's better. We see, speak the truth is more important. For the past 6 years, spare parts business has gone down drastically, and everybody is not willing to speak about it because of we are doing tribal and a party line. Don't involve party into your business.
Okay, great. You bring party into the conversation. Now, Arise Ghana has been largely tagged as NDC, and it seems to be joining them on their demonstration on 27. It's not something that you should be worried about, that is going to be politicized.
2016, we did the same thing for Nana Akufo-Addo Dankwa. Guta, we even closed our shop for 3 days. Only special import levy, 1%. It was 3%. We say, John Mama, just scrap the 1%. Mama couldn't do it. So we closed our stores for 3 days. Guta. What has changed today? So at that time, we're part of MPP, right? Okay. We don't care. Whether we are NDC, we don't care. Ghana is not ready for party line. Ghana is ready to defend this, our democracy.
Great. Yusuf, so what are you people going to do now? You asked government to do a couple of things. You're asking government to reduce fuel, to take off the taxes specifically. I mean, if government fails to do this, what are you going to do?
I think the government is being reluctant in doing something about it, because when we started speaking or we started making noise, it wasn't today. It's been several these things that years we've been shouting. So we wrote a letter to them, we drivers wanting to demonstrate. They went and took an injunction and placed it on the demonstration. So now, Arise Ghana, we found out their motive is to save Ghana. So I think that is why we want to join them in this demonstration, to tell the government he should listen to us and do something about it.
These three unions, concerned drivers, the Okada riders and the spare parts, have come together to demand for one thing: better conditions whilst they live as Ghanaians in the country. They are hoping that their demonstration on the 27th and 26th would yield results. Government would listen and probably take off taxes and also work on reducing the depreciation on the Ghana cedis. For JoyNews, Michael Ashali.
Well, so these are the concerns of some driver unions, but let's hear from the GPRTU on what is likely to happen in the coming days. Samuel Amwa is National Communications Team member. Thank you, Samuel, for joining us. So some of your colleagues there expressing worry about the continuous surge in fuel prices, and there's a likelihood that we're going to see some further price hikes as you're signaling off in the coming days. How soon will that happen?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me say good afternoon to your church viewers out there. Yes, it's true. We have now seen that the fuel price has gone high, more than the 10% threshold that we GPRTU normally check before we come out with the transport fare increment. So at the moment, yesterday, the committee that went out there to check on the prices on the component that we used to run our business, when they came out with a 15% proposed, upward adjustment of transport fares, of which we presented it to the ministries, the transport minister. So we are waiting.
Hello, Samuel.
Please tell us something, because as we have presented our proposal. What they have to do is to study it, call us to a meeting. Then we all agreed on a percentage that has to come out. So that is what we are saying. But talking about what my other colleagues are saying about the strike.
Hello, Samuel.
Are well understood because the component that we used to run the businesses has gone high. So these are some of the things we have been doing. I think from last year, we were pushing the government to at least take a critical look at some of the taxes that we think they have to scrap them or they have to reduce them. And we did that. I think that resulted on the 6th December strike action that we embarked on. But as of now, the government is not ready to do anything about it. That is why this time around, we are focusing on our 10% threshold. Whenever the fuel price goes high up to the 10% threshold, we also come out and check on our increment of transport fares. So at the moment, that is what we are focusing on.
So, which means that any moment from now, your report is ready and that you may be putting before the tripartite committee your new demands on the increment in prices?
We already presented it to the ministry. We've written to the ministries. We have proposed a 15% fair increment to the meeting. So we are now waiting for them to come out to call us to a meeting. Because after we have presented it, they also send it to the presidency for them to study. But actually, this time around, we made them understand that it shouldn't, take a long time because that was why we broke the protocol some time ago by coming out with our own 20% increment. Right. So this time around, we just told them at least within a week they have to tell us something so that we also come out with a transport fare increment.
So if government decides to take away some of the tax components, which you claim is biting hard in terms of the cost build-up, you'll change your mind?
Yeah, definitely, because as I said earlier, that what we are looking for is the petroleum product to come down, all right? And we are using a margin, a mark, that is the 10%. From the time we are giving from the time we increase it by 20% up to now, the fuel price has been increased up to I think about 18%. So if the government comes out and take off those taxes and the petrol price comes down, we have no option than to hold on with this transport fare increment, because we ourselves as transport operators, anytime we increase our fares, it makes our businesses go down. The patronization is not like the way it used to be. So we are not happy coming out always with the transport fare increment. No, that is not our desire. That is why we are saying that if the government can do something by taking off those taxes, by working on the dollar rate to be stabilized, at least the fuel price won't go that high for us also to be pushed to increase our transport fares.
Anyway, what I have to do with you, Samuel, I want to thank you for spending some time with us here on The Pulse. And stay with us here on The Pulse. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll bring you some more stories. Please stay. And you're welcome back. Now, at least 5 people have been arrested at Gugloshi Market by the AMA Sanitation Task Force for littering and dumping waste into public drains. Now, some of the people had to set up their shops on the shoulders of the road, obstructing free flow of traffic. Michael Ashale was with the team and filed this report.
Why dear? Why dear? Come, bruh. No, let's arrest them. Pick it to the car.
Sanitation officials ordering the arrest of an onion seller. Her offense was doing business on the shoulders of the road.
Send it to the car yourself. Hurry up, otherwise we will arrest you.
Others were also picked up for failing to properly dispose of their waste. They had gathered rubbish right at the edge of the open drain. Their wares were confiscated.
You see, we have a central container at the market. So all that you do is that your trade refuse, you take it to the central container.
The sanitation team lead for the exercise, Gordon Akorea, told JoyNews the arrest was preceded by several cautions.
Yeah, we did announcement on several occasions. We did announcement. We sensitized them. They know. But sometimes when you want to use woman face, they don't respect that. You understand? But they'll leave it here in the night before you realize they pour everything into the drainage. So we are going to look for, the owners have run away. We are going to look for Aboboya to pack all of them into the Aboboya. The owners will come. Then we'll prosecute them.
Commercial tricycle operators who were busily tending to their vehicles on the shoulders of the road were asked to vacate. Before that, they had to tidy up the place.
Hurry up, organize all your boys to clean the place. Hurry up.
The way they talk, if it is the water, if we then remove the water inside, nobody remove inside the water. So your matter there, everything you talk, if you throw back because of your word.
Some of the vendors abandoned their wares to escape arrest. Gordon Agoria says, although they try to enforce the bylaws, it has been fraught with many challenges.
You realize that we don't have enough task forces to position them in the various places. And then, you see, Agoglosi is not the only place we have. We have other markets like Makola number 1, number 2, London market and all that. So you can't be stationed at one place. If you are here, the other place will be left lonely.
Despite the challenges, the Assembly is determined to ramp up enforcement to instill discipline.
To be honest with you, for the traders here, they actually violate the law with great impunity. And we've realized that if we don't put stiff measures in place, we will not be able to bring sanity to the situation. So now we are going to ensure that every day we patrol here. When you...
how long can you do that?
Oh, every day. For the next quarter, for the next 3 months, we are going to be patrolling here to ensure that we bring sanity to this particular place.
I think that will work?
It will work. It will work. For the past 1 week, we realize, you can see that there's free flow of the road. Because mostly they sell on the shoulders of the road. But for this week, none of them is on the road. But they are still in front of the dwarf wall. And that is why we continue to seize their product. And from tomorrow, we are going to arrest them themselves. Instead of seizing their products, we are going to arrest them themselves. Seizing your things. Don't come to the roadside. Today is your last time. The
AMA hopes that those that have been arrested and their subsequent punishment will serve as deterrent to those who have the intention of coming to join them on the shoulders of the road. This is the Joy Clean Ghana campaign. My name is Michael Ashali from the Agbobulushi Market.
And now UK Member of Parliament and Minister for Armed Forces James Hepe says military action alone will not help West African countries to eliminate terrorism. He says a strong political commitment is important to deal with the situation. Speaking in an exclusive interview with JoyNews, Maxwell Agogba, he said most of the conditions that give rise to insurgency and violent extremism in other African countries are non-existent in Ghana, as the country is democratic. The minister is saying Ghana to deepen the UK-Ghana security and defense partnership and also help promote the UK's continued commitment to security in northern Ghana following an increased attacks against some Togo and Western African countries.
Equipment, it brings with it training, it brings with it operating together, it brings with it that you will see Royal Navy ships more often. HMS Trent was here last autumn, she'll come again this autumn. You'll see more members of the British Army down here training alongside the Ghanaian Army. You'll see more members of the Ghanaian Army going up to the UK to train alongside the British Army. Just so much opportunity, but all because Ghana has put its hand up and said, we'll lead. We will, we're a Security Council member. We've got the presidency of ECOWAS. We will lead in our region. And we want to support you in that leadership.
Interesting. Now, we've heard of the increase in threats of terrorism within the West African coastal states. And in the past days, we've heard of attacks in Nigeria, actually in a church. Quite a horrific attack, very horrific, I should say. We've heard of attacks in Benin. We've seen attacks in Côte d'Ivoire. Ghana remains the oasis in this desert, you know, of instability that we continue to see in our part of the world. But Ghana is also under threat as it stands, you know, right now. I want to find out, UK government certainly have the advanced technology, the logistics, and you pick up the real intelligence. I want to find out what kind of intelligence that you've picked up about these increasing terror attacks and plans to, you know, attack West African coastal states.
Well, look, first of all, it is no coincidence that Ghana is the last of the littoral West African states to experience violence on its own soil. That is the consequence of the fact that Ghana is a very strong state with governance that extends all the way to its borders. You are democratic, you are fair in the way that you apply justice, you as a government seek to develop the economy across the whole of your country. And so many of the conditions that cause grievance and instability and insecurity that allow the insurgents to exploit, Ghana has none of, because of the way that you run your country, and that is to be applauded. And that's quickly not to say that in the case of your neighbours they don't, but Ghana is just an exemplar that I think you should recognise that it's not that you've been lucky. You deserve the fact that you are the hardest of the West African states for the violence to arrive into. But it will come. You know, I mean, there are terrorist attacks in the UK. It is impossible that they won't come here in time. And so what we need to do as your friend is exactly as you suggest. Engage between our intelligence communities, share with you whatever information we have about the expansion of violent extremism in this region. That's happening. Our intelligence communities are engaging very imminently, in fact, to discuss how that might work. When it comes to surveillance, both electronic and physical, you know, we are very clear that, you know, insurgencies rely on being able to move kit and equipment around in a sort of clandestine way, and that they rely on being able to hide within the population. We've got some expertise on how you get after the terrorists through our time in Iraq and in Afghanistan, and the work that we've been doing in Syria and Libya. But and we're ready to sort of share that with you.
The vulnerabilities that some of these insurgents sometimes, you know, exploit. There are criticisms all over the world that what we've seen in the fight against insurgency is a firefighting approach. The critics say that insurgency is, it's a huge, the insurgency iceberg, it's there. And what we see at the top of this iceberg is the shooting and the killing and the maiming of people. But what is beneath actually is the religious intolerance. It's about the economic conditions, you know, of the people, the political instability in these countries. These are the vulnerabilities that the insurgents, you know, exploit. So rather than militarizing, you know, the fight against terrorism, we should rather focus on addressing these challenges and these problems. What do you make of that?
Well, I think you're right. I actually think that in the case of radical Islamism, invariably the economic conditions come first. I don't think that many people choose to become jihadis. I think invariably they've lost their livelihood, their economic prospects are minimal, and the opportunity to be a gun for hire within Islamic State is a way of feeding your family. And then once you're in Islamic State, you become radicalized and it becomes an ideological thing. And you know, there's work that we've been doing in the Lake Chad Basin, particularly around de-radicalization and reconciliation and rehabilitation. So, if we, so that people feel like there's a route back from, if you're in with Islamic State in West Africa, in that case, if an ISWA fighter has a route to rejoining their community and being rehabilitated, and that's quite important because it means that the insurgency can melt away. But the only reason it would want to melt away is either if it comes against overwhelming military force that would otherwise crush it, or if there's a route to sort of prosperity within your community that means it no longer pays to be a gun for hire within ISWA or Islamic State in the Greater Sahel or whatever else. So you're absolutely right, Maxwell, in your view. Inevitably, the situation in Mali, in Burkina Faso, and in the Lake Chad Basin has already reached a point where a military solution is required. But a military solution alone won't ever succeed. So there has to also be that political commitment by countries in the region and the donor community beyond to have a stabilization effort that accompanies the military effort, that therefore means that people can, if they don't want to die in the name of the insurgency, they can put down their gun and there's a route back to normality.
We know the bombs are dropping on Mariupol and other parts of Ukraine, but many countries across the world are feeling the ramifications.
And you can, of course, get the full interview on our social media platforms. But for now, Virtual InfoSec Africa has set up a new cybersecurity lab at the Kwame University of Science and Technology. The new lab will actually run courses from certified ethical hacking to cybersecurity analysts. Now speaking at the launch, Chief Executive Officer of Virtual InfoSec Africa, Emmanuel Setrasiedu, was hopeful these skills will prepare students for the job market.
Virtual InfoSec Africa is a Ghanaian-owned company that specializes in the provision of information security services and cybersecurity. The company provides training and resolves security challenges. They have a reputation for being one of the top most innovative designers and developers in security and network provision. The courses run by the lab would include certified ethical hacking, Linux certified practitioner, and cybersecurity analyst. Others are penetration testing, vulnerability scanning and analysis, and digital forensics. Chief Executive Officer of Virtual InfoSec Africa, Emmanuel Setrasiedu, said funding opportunities will be available to females who would want to pursue cybersecurity.
Women, as part of our vision, I think when we signed, we done with a memorandum of understanding. We may have to invest a lot. Any lady who wants to be part of this, maybe even pay their tuitions for free, so that more women will be encouraged to. It's a safe and valuable for women compared to other engineering courses. So our vision is simple: to be able to give certifications and equip students before they leave the university. This is a relaxed, if you're smart, it's a relaxed environment. It's not like a civil engineering construction works, you build on the field. So we think that in the cyberspace, and then mostly when it comes to, sometimes you need to trust women. There's an environment that you need to be trustworthy, honest, because you'll be exposed to a lot of data and other sensitive things. So we thought that if we encourage women, I think it's the right direction for us to encourage women to go into sciences and cybersecurity certification. And what we can also do is to invest in them, give them the certification at cost for free. So encourage more women participation as part.
The provost of the College of Engineering, Professor Mark Adumasamwa, is optimistic the center will help provide cybersecurity solutions and solve the country's unemployment issues.
Yes. It is important that we get a system which allows us to train students in cybersecurity. One of the issues being that Ghana as a nation is becoming a data economy. And since everything depends on data, it's important that we ensure that the security segments of our data are all assured. In addition, the introduction of this center is also going to help us create entrepreneurs out of our students.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Debra.
And back to the northern parts of the country, 10 more girls from the Tolan Senior High School in the northern region who lost everything to a fire outbreak last month have been supported to go back to school. There was a fire outbreak in the school which ravaged the entire top floor of the girls' dormitory, destroying belongings of the girls. JoyNews interviewed a student, Dauda Zakia, who was divested because it was going to be difficult for her parents to raise money to buy her belongings to return to school. Her story attracted support not just from her school but also from other persons, and also attracted help for some other girls in need. There's more in this report.
Girls from the school come from families with unstable income who struggle to make ends meet. Therefore, it became difficult for their parents to afford to replace the things that were burnt. The girls were given an option to list their needs, and an anonymous donor funded the cost. The items bought included books, chop boxes, mattresses, school bags, traveling bags, provisions, among others. Some of the girls shared their stories on how they were coping before the donation. First, we speak to Cohen Mary.
When the team bent, we were suffering. We don't know what to do. I was crying about it. I was crying. So all our things bent. Now we don't know what to do.
Okay, so you requested for a mattress because you didn't have a mattress. How were you sleeping?
I was sleeping down, like the floor. I was just sleeping the floor. I don't have anything to even put down, to even put and sleep. I was even sleeping on the floor. No, nothing to even sleep there. So I was sleeping on the floor.
Another student, Shaibu Marajana, said she lost her books and food and had nothing to eat than to rely on the dining food, which was woefully insufficient.
I asked for my dress. In fact, I was not having my dress because the fire gutted the mattress, so I was lying on the floor. And then I also asked for exercise books and then textbooks. The fire burned all our books, and then it was no good. We were not having books to learn, and then it was difficult for us. And then we are final years. The fire says they are even better than us because for us we are final years, and then we don't have the textbooks. And I also asked my food stuff, my troubles and everything, all my food banks, and I was not having money to. In fact, when I went home, my parents they find it difficult to get money to buy the thing. I work and get some money and buy some and come to school. But I appreciate a lot when you brought for me. Okay, we thank the person very much, and then may God will bless the person. Wherever he's going, may God will follow him.
Okay. Salifu Amina Mimi said it was a struggling moment each day to survive.
It was very difficult because I had nothing with me. Everything got bent. The only thing I had was my uniform and the bag I took to class. That was the only thing I had, including my money and everything got bent. So it was just a matter of life and death. But we thank God we are still alive, as He has saved us from the fire. We thank those who gave us this help and everything. May God give them more than what they expected in life. Thank you.
Headmaster of the school, Mohammed Isifu, said it was refreshing to see some smiles put on the faces of the young wing.
Well, we can see that you have put some smiles back on the faces of the students. That's an expression of how happy they are. And then we believe strongly that it will go a long way to solving the challenges that they have as a result of the fire.
Well, now scientists at the University of Health and Allied Sciences are calling for enhanced social education on COVID-19 after a survey revealed about 45.9% of Ghanaians have exhibited stigma and discriminatory behavior toward COVID-19 survivors. The study revealed generally up to 43% of the population does not exhibit a good attitude towards COVID-19 survivors. The study, which surveyed more than 3,500 people across the country, also revealed about 24% of the respondents did not have good knowledge about COVID-19. The peer review study was published in the PLO's Global Public Health Journal on Wednesday, and lead author Dr. Hubert Amoud joins us live via Zoom now for a conversation on this. Dr. Amoud, thank you so much for your time. So what's more fascinating about this studies that was conducted by your team?
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak about our research in such an important medium. Our study was very important because it came at a time that there were serious media reports of people who had survived COVID-19 being highly stigmatized and discriminated against in the country. So it was an important opportunity to make it scientific and then show that they are not just rumors, but they are actual things that are happening to those who have survived the pandemic.
But then you are also pointing out the issue of stigma. Is it a general situation? Are you generalizing here? Or perhaps there are some nuances to the definition and the scope in terms of what you term as stigma in this case?
Okay, thank you very much. In our study, as you mentioned, we studied over 3,000 people, and this was a nationwide study where we, first of all, grouped the country into ecological zones of 3, and then out of the 16, we had about 3 from each zone. So that's a total of 9 regions cutting across the country from all ecological zones. And then in each of these regions, we selected 2 communities, 2 districts, sorry. And then we made sure that we considered both urban and rural dimensions before we went ahead to collect our data. So it is not just nuances, but then we can confidently say this was a representative sample of the Ghanaian population. And so, yes, we can generalize and say the figures really reflect the situation at the time that this study was done, sometime 2020.
Right.
Yes, I agree that now a lot might have changed. Vaccination has come and a lot of people have accepted to get vaccinated. So the level of stigma we experienced at the time probably could be less now, but then the fact remains that a lot of people who have not vaccinated up to this point could still be holding on to some of these stigma, and that is one of the reasons they have not vaccinated up to this point.
And then the issue about knowledge, sufficient knowledge on the pandemic itself. How come till date, after more than a year of the outbreak, Ghanaians are still not coming to terms with what the dynamics of the virus may be?
Okay, thank you very much. So knowledge, it's holistic. Holistic in the sense that it's one thing hearing something and then another thing listening to it. The media has done a lot. The state, in terms of the government apparatus, has done a lot in terms of putting the information out there, but it behoves the individual to actually listen and then imbibe this information. But it looks like a lot of people, because of the stigmatized nature of the situation, they have held on to stereotypes which have prevented them to really take in the information. And so that is one reason I can say would result in the high levels of poor knowledge which we found among the populace that we surveyed in our study.
And I'm interested in getting to know what the recommendations are in terms of changing the narrative and trying to deal with the challenges that you've identified. Okay,
so as you rightly mentioned, we realized that the prevalence was 46%, as you mentioned in your introduction, and then poor knowledge was as high as 34%. And then poor attitude was also as high as 43%. 43% here means that 4 out of every 10 Ghanaians that we surveyed had a poor attitude towards COVID-19. And so what are our recommendations? We are recommending that, yes, there's been a lot of public education for people to get to understand what COVID-19 is and to help reduce the stigma that we associate with the disease, which we then use to, for want of a better word, punish those who survive it. But then we need to do more. It looks like when the pandemic got so serious around the 2020s where this study was done, there was a lot of effort by all stakeholders, the media, the national apparatus, NGOs, individuals, the health system. But it looks like after some time, we all went to sleep, for want of a better word. It means we reduced the efforts. And so it's no surprise that the prevalence is shooting up again. And so we have to get back to work and increase the education. And not just educating people, we need to make sure that we get the information down to the community level, because now what we are experiencing is the population level spread. So our main recommendation is for us to get back to work on education. Now, as I mentioned, not just educating, but then we can also get people who these communities trust, like medical doctors. So JoyNews, for instance, you bring medical doctors more onto your shows, get them to talk to the people more. I believe that when we send the message out again clearly, it will reduce a lot of the misinformation, which fuels the stigma that we are experiencing.
Anyway, Doc, we'll have to leave it here, but I'm sure this is just the start of some more conversation to come. I'm grateful so much for your time. Well, so that's Dr. Amo, of course, lead team of the team that carried out that research. But we can now talk about some more issues, as the Ghana Gas Company is actually refuting claims by Member of Parliament for Elembele, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, that the company failed to pitch developmental projects in the Western region. Now, addressing the media Tuesday, the public relations officer of the Ghana National Gas Company, Mr. Ernest Owusu-Bempah, revealed that a whopping 40 million Ghana cedis has been reversed to the fund developmental projects in the Western region. But leadership has failed to present a proposal to claim that amount.
I'd like to set the record straight that we're surprised, first of all, to hear the 3 members of parliament making those statements without checking their facts. One, it's astonishing that they have Ghana Gas for time immemorial, have a traditional authority, which is Awulai of Atuabo, sitting on the board of Ghana Gas as a permanent board member of Ghana Gas. It's even an insulting to the traditional authorities to see that he's sitting down there and looking down on his own community people without bringing development to the ordinary people. So it's an insulting for the 3 members of parliament, insulting the traditional authority, because it's a decision by the company to put a traditional authority, whether it's NDC in power or MPP in power. There is a key traditional authority who is always a board member of Ghana Gas, which is Awulai of Atuabo, who sits on the board of Ghana Gas. And I'm surprised also to hear that he himself, one of the members of parliament, Amakofi-Boa, was an energy minister at that time when a decision by Ghana Gas Board took place by taking a decision that there's going to be a project fund that is going to be put there to develop the communities within the Western region. And he was the energy minister at that time when Ghana Gas Board took those decisions, even though they couldn't make it feasible when they were in power. But those decisions came into fruition when Ghana Gas new board took over, and we've been able to accrue an amount of $5.6 million, which is equivalent of 40 million Ghana cedis. From this money comes from the prices of LPG, $20 per metric ton. We've reduced the price $20 per metric ton to put it in a kitty of the project funding for those projects. And we have so far done a few development with those monies, even though there's a problem with the people in the Western region as to where they want those developments to go. And they themselves have gone through a lot of problems as to where they want those monies to go for the development for the areas. And so Ghana Gas has been able to do a few projects with those monies, and this is to benefit the community. That's a 4-unit, 2-bedroom, self-contained teachers' quarters and an ultra-modern nursery in that area. Still, that is a token of those amounts. And then we've consistently maintained the fact that Ghana Gas is committed to those in the Western region, and we are committed to give those monies to them anytime they bring out development projects that they feel it is necessary for them to develop their areas up there. So for anybody to come and tell us that Ghana Gas is doing nothing to support the people in the Nzema area is absolute falsehood, and it's not true. So we should treat it with the highest contempt it deserves.
And Ghana is known worldwide as a football nation, despite excelling in other sporting events. Now, the country's occasional stellar performances in boxing, for example, have been noteworthy. But did you know that Ghana, for instance, has a representative on the main professional golf tours in the USA as well as North America? Well, it's time to bring you that pleasant surprise. Joining us now is Danny List, and he is the one putting us on the map. Danny, welcome to the program. How have you been faring? And we understand that unfortunately you're recovering from an injury on the GTA tours. But how have you been generally?
Oh yeah, I've been all right, thank you. Yeah, actually, so on the PGA tours, I've been recently at my last tournament. I suffered a torn muscle in my neck in a warm-up when I was playing in Canada. So at the moment, I'm just doing rehab.
I'm really curious at this point, talking to you. I'm just wondering, what made you going for golf anyway? And when did you even start playing?
I started playing when I was probably 5 years old, and I don't know. My uncle was a big influence on me. But it's just, golf and football were everything to me growing up. So it was kind of a battle between the two, which one would take up my time, and in the end, the golf won.
And I'm so much interested in the journey, for instance, to becoming a pro as you are now. How difficult or easy was it getting where you are today?
Yeah, it wasn't easy at all. Starting off as a junior player, especially in Ghana, it was very difficult to be noticed while there. And I had the opportunity to go play in the European Junior Championships when I was 14 years old, and I was blessed enough and fortunate enough to win. And then that's when the attention from college scouts in the US started to come about, and which gave me more of a platform to kind of raise my, my stocks, I guess, and allow me to keep progressing until I made it into the pro ranks.
Sounds interesting. But here in Ghana, you do agree that golf is relatively a lesser known sport. How was it for you making that decision and trying to opt for golf when there was football and there were so many other sports that you could opt for?
Yeah, it was very difficult, as a 9-year-old kid, making the decision when all my friends say, hey, let's go play football, and being like, I should really go practice my golf was definitely a battle, and oftentimes I think football won that argument for me. But just trying to make sure that I would, go and train, even with temptation to go to the football pitch.
So let's talk about your situation now. I mean, you're playing in the major tours, but then I'm just wondering where you are now, what you seek to achieve in the coming years, and where you see yourself perhaps in the nearest future.
Yeah, like you said, I kind of see it as carrying Ghana on my back, because being the only Ghanaian or even West African player playing on the PGA tours is definitely a burden, but also a blessing. So I use that to motivate myself to, put Ghana on the map, So that motivates me to want to be the best in the world. And if I can achieve that, I imagine there'll be thousands of other kids in Ghana that believe they can do the same thing and will put in the time and effort to do so.
Right, and most definitely will be supporting you back home, but I'm sure that there are more persons who are inspired by your story. What measures are you putting in place at your own personal level to try and inspire the younger generation, persons who may be looking up to you to say, well, I equally want to play golf?
Yeah, I think the thing that I learned is that trying to make it in any sport is a very lonely journey. You need to be prepared to put in countless hours without any real promise of future success. And you need to, be determined and tunnel vision that you know what your goal is, and you make some, clear steps on how you'll achieve that. And I think now I'm launching a charity in Ghana that's going to be geared towards giving those opportunities to the kids, to give them direction on how they can pursue their goals.
All right then. But anyway, we'll still be interacting, and I'm sure that one of these days when you're back home in Ghana, we'll definitely interact. But I'm grateful for your time.
No, thank you so much.
All right,
thank you.
Wish you all the best now. Firstly, introduced in the UK in 1951, zebra crossings are designed to impress upon drivers to halt for pedestrians. Unfortunately, some drivers in Accra drive at the top of speed in spite of the black and white stripes. And in this report, Tasha Michelle has been interacting with some road users in the capital who lament the non-compliance to the zebra crossings.
Data from the National Road Safety Authority revealed that a total of 1,155 pedestrians were knocked down between January and May 2022. Some of those who met their untimely deaths were knocked while using zebra crossings, which ordinarily should have provided safety for them. It appears that many drivers do not regard zebra crossings while plying the road. According to some pedestrians at the General Hospital, they always have their hats in their mouths when using the stretch. This is because, apart from the drivers failing to stop at the side of zebra crossings, some of the zebra crossings themselves have faded, posing more threats to them.
Some of the challenges we do encounter here is that the zebra crossing is faded, and then you can't even see it on the road, and the drivers too will not stop for you to even cross. So there are times, we need to beg them attempt like crossing before they could stop for you to cross. And as for the school children too, they will stand here for about between 2 to 5 minutes before maybe one of the cars can stop for them to cross. And as for the old women too, unless maybe some of the young guys are passing and they want to cross before they can stop the cars for them to cross. We want maybe the Ghana Highway Authority or the people concerned should take note and then help us fix the zebra crossing.
It'll be difficult because sometimes when you want to cross these vehicles, they don't stop. They know you wanted to cross, but they will not stop. Sometimes you have to use force. You have to step on the road. Some drivers are understanding, but others too do not stop. But this is a zebra crossing. They have to slow down. But when they get there, they don't slow down. That's the problem we are facing. It's not only me alone, but most of the students. It's become very difficult for us. I'm praying that the authorities will do something about it.
At the Dankwa Circle around the police hospital in Accra, the zebra crossing is visible. However, students of St. Thomas Aquinas SHS say they feel unsafe because even when the cars stop for them, motor riders speed towards them.
My problem is the motor riders, because sometimes when the drivers stop, the motor riders, they don't really seem to care. They just continue moving and they sometimes almost hit us, but we just have to stop. So sometimes even if the drivers stop, you have to keep looking if a motor rider is coming because you might get hit.
Sometimes we'll stand here for a very long time before being able to cross. And sometimes when there's a traffic like this, they end up stopping on the zebra crossing instead of leaving a space there so that we can cross. So sometimes it's very challenging using it.
I think the drivers are ignorant about the fact that when they are approaching the zebra crossing, they should stop for us to cross. They refuse to stop for us. So mostly when there's a traffic or something, they end up stopping on the zebra crossing, which most of the time delays our time.
At the Labone Junction, the zebra markings are gradually wearing away, forcing authorities of the Labone STA school to deploy wardens to assist pupils who use the road. A warden who spoke to JoyNews said regardless of their presence, some drivers still ignore the zebra crossings.
I've realized either most of the drivers, both commercial and private, either they are ignorance to the profession or they intentionally decide not to observe the road signs. So sometimes the person will realize that the child or somebody is standing right at the ends of the pedestrian crossing, but pretend as if he or she has not seen the person. And when you are stopping to, the person will tell you, I'm on top speed. But how should you be on top speed while you are approaching a pedestrian crossing? It's not the right thing.
Indeed, the disregard for road warnings and zebra crossings in particular remain a concern which requires the urgent attention of authorities in order to save lives. For JoyNews, Tasha Michelle.
Well, and that's all we have for you here in this package on the polls. I am Blessed Sogah. Don't forget to log on to myjoyonline.com. We have updates on our stories there.